I think Budget 2026 was very emphatic in what it promises to deliver to the Guyanese people. Putting people first.
Yeah.
That's saying it clearly, and in the title, I saw that demonstrated in a very comprehensive manner in which Minister Singh detailed how that was going to be effective, building on the 5-year plan that His Excellency would have presented, and more so, building on 5 years of progress and development. And I would venture to say that in all of our budget years, we've put people first. But in this one, there was strategic focus on every section of the population.
Right.
It was inclusive, and it took into account where we are as a country, how our economy is moving, and what are the defined needs of people. If I venture into looking at it holistically, I would say that there was interest paid to critical areas, our children. Looking at education, investment in education was enormous. Shifting the goalpost when it came to the Because We Care cash grant, moving it upwards, and ensuring that you didn't only look at the initial sum that was started, but looking at transportation. That's paying attention, that's listening to parents. How do we ensure that what we heard manifests in the budget?
Right.
And so once we look at that, that's disposable income. Then you add to that University of Guyana and the movement that would have started last year, free university education. But building on that, not only free, but access, widening the net so that more persons in more regions have access to critical areas that would be essential in the development of our labor force and also to our human capacity as we continue to have rapid development in this country. Then I looked at it wasn't only our children, it was moving to our seniors and building out the pension by moving the pension from for the $1,000 to for the $6,000, adding to the electricity and water subsidy, adding to health care for our seniors, and then, of course, ensuring that we listened again, transportation. Our elders would like to move around a $20,000 annual transportation allowance, adding to the $46,000 per month, and looking toward the growth in the number of pensioners who would benefit from this. I remember coming into a ministry in the last 5 years, and we were somewhere in the early 60s when it came to pensioners. Now there is more access, more inclusivity, more pensioners in the hinterland are benefiting, and so now we're saying over 94,000 pensioners will benefit from these measures. And then looking at our most vulnerable, and those are persons who have disabilities, persons who depend on public assistance, and saying to them that we're going to move this forward also, and also looking to not only at the individual measures, but how it would impact on a $78.3 billion budget for human services, where $68 billion of that would be going directly to people. That's significant. And then building out on key areas that I consider barriers to getting people into the labor force, looking at care, looking at how we can provide, and it's very close to my heart, the care economy, and looking at how persons could be empowered to deliver services of care, but also providing the kind of services where more parents can go out to work. And what was very, very important was the buy-in and the participation of the private sector. So this idea of having zero corporate tax by providing the services of care, plus empowering through co-investment people who would want to provide care, I think that's a very, very advantageous place to be for people who are in the industry of care. And we have been training persons in care for the last 5 years. The last count was over 5,000 persons in every region who would have benefited through the Women's Innovation Investment Network. And then there was also the movement of not only co-investing in care, but looking at how people who need help to rehabilitate their homes, they will also have a healthy injection from the budget. Looking at how mortgages will benefit, moving it at least a serious amount upwards, and then looking also at other critical areas of home ownership. More homes will be owned, more land titles, more home titles rather, and also looking at the areas where persons depend in terms of food security. There was a direct focus on food security. So if I was to look at the budget holistically, it was looking at the needs of every sector, every segment of our population, and looking at their holistic well-being. Because if you looked at healthcare and you looked at the sum expended this year, but more importantly, not just the expenditure, what it was going to be expended on, using digital technology, venturing to AI, looking at telemedicine, it is putting first world healthcare in the hands of everyone. And the whole idea of infrastructure has now morphed into the idea of human capacity development. And that's where the country, I feel, is at the nexus that is so important for us to, move forward at a rapid pace.
Minister Prasad, I almost have absolutely no more questions for you. The one thing that I want to ask you, though, what would you say to people in terms of what persons can expect from you and the Ministry of Human Services in delivering on these mandates in 2026?
So the first thing is the pensioners will ask how and when we can get our pension. And I will say in March you can get your full pension as announced in today's budget, and they will have the retroactive from January and February. I'm always very careful to say that first so that our pensioners know what to expect and when to expect it. And similarly for persons living with disabilities and persons who depend on public assistance, because we're almost complete in terms of our delivery of the booklets for both. But what we're looking at is digitalization. That's a very big project that the ministry is doing to decentralize our service, to effectively use digital technology to encourage more persons to use banks and MMG. His Excellency spoke about the Guyana Development Bank. You heard about it again, and I think that is impactful. So we will be working through the Women's Innovation Investment Network program so that more women, when they finish their training program, they can access funding. And I was very happy to hear $3 million, because that is serious capital investment. I was happy to hear zero collateral. I was happy to hear zero interest, because working with that population of women, this could be a barrier to getting into the fields that they really want. So I think for us it will be education and awareness. I'm starting that tomorrow, by the way. I have an outreach on the East Bank of Demerara, and one part of that requires me to engage with women. So I will be having that serious conversation with them so that they understand how they can position themselves using all the opportunities cumulatively that government provides. Take our free training, get ready, so when the bank opens, if you have a small or micro enterprise, you're ready. And then you're looking at the young person who wants to access the training, and there is a very, very clear signal that all of the training programs, technical vocational training programs, will expand. My personal favorite is placing women in non-traditional, unconventional domain when it comes to technical vocational skills. So last year we started with placing them in the position to have training through UK City and Guilds in electrical installation, carpentry, masonry. And when you listen also about the housing sector and how many homes will be built, I want women to be building those homes. So you can see a lot of that. And then child protection. Now, I have to tell you this. I know you told me that you don't have any more questions, but I need to talk with this. So early childhood development. This was an ambitious program where we blended early childhood development and we blended it with child care. So we developed the program. We have policies. We first developed the National Early Childhood Development Policy, looking at ages 0 to 3 years, 9. And Anna Katharina was the first location that we had that model, early childhood development with day and night care facilities. We have since moved to having 2 additional facilities, and as you heard in the budget, you will have more facilities, regions 2, 5, 6, and 8. So there is 1 hinterland facility. So again, this is something where primarily, again, women will benefit and parents will definitely benefit. And we're looking at the world where children need to have the opportunity to benefit from newer parenting techniques. We tackling things like abuse, old issues like abuse, newer, more amplified issues of bullying. So we need to tackle all of those things. So when you hear of a measure, don't just think of it as only this. It has all of these transformational impacts going forward.